And welcome once again to the Interfaith Roundtable. I'm Cantor Mark Perman. You know, many in Hollywood make movies for no other reason than to make money. If it titillates, if it offends, if it exposes the worst of us, it doesn't matter, as long as it sells. Well, then along comes a filmmaker such as Jason Bush, who is trying to do something on a higher level. For when the artist writes and creates out of a deep need to express the creativity within, great things can happen, and perhaps people can not only be entertained, but maybe they can learn something about themselves as well. Jason Bush has been acting and writing since he was 11. He got his start as a student at the Hartford Children's Theater. He created a short film entitled Lucid for a film class, which evolved into a full-length script, and lo and behold, his film recently wrapped, which is film talk for being done, and it will be premiered in West Hartford on May 24th at Blueback Square. And then we have Caleb Reynolds, who is an 8th grader from Connecticut, who has been performing since he was 6. He has done commercials, voiceovers, theater, and I had the great joy of performing with him on stage in a stage reading of a new play called What's Next, actually a Jewish-themed play. Caleb is what you call in the business, I think, a natural. They call you that?
I guess, I don't know.
And when he acts, well, you think it's really him, which it is. And he has the ultimate gift of the actor, which is to make it real. Welcome to you both.
Thank you for having us.
So Jason, what was the inspiration for this movie, for Lucid? Where did it come from?
Lucid, the idea has actually been around, as you said, that I taught at Hartford Children's Theater doing acting for film classes. It was one of the short films for a summer in 2009. And it was really at the time I personally just had a lot of interest in lucid dreaming and was doing a lot of research.
What is that? Tell people what
lucid dreaming is basically when you become aware while you're in a dream that you're dreaming. And, you know, there's a lot of stuff on the internet about it, and people say, oh, I can control what I do, and it's really fun. And I got really interested in that, and I said, wouldn't that be an interesting script? I think a lot of people are fascinated with dreams in general. And, you know, I said, you know, let me make this a story, and it turned out to be a great summer. We had a, you know, really good time with it. People really enjoyed it and responded to it. And after we finished for that summer, I said, you know, man, I like this idea. I would love to flesh that out into a feature one day. And when the stars kind of aligned to have the resources and the crew and the cast members to do it, that's what we did. And it's turned out really well. And it's really expanded now. It's so much more than the lucid dreaming. There's the sleep deprivation and a bunch of other elements now that have been introduced. So it's really been enhanced.
So I was going to say, a lot of people come up with an idea for a movie and they sit with it. I know I've had great ideas that sit in my drawer. But you took an idea, your first, I guess, idea that came to fruition as a filmmaker and really got the people together and on a low budget in an independent context created a professional project. And it also has depth to it. I mean, you're dealing with some real serious concept. Do people want to hear about sleep deprivation? Do they want to hear about multiple personalities? Describe some of these deeper aspects of the film.
Yeah, basically, you know, without giving too much away, it deals with what can happen when you don't sleep. It can cause mental health issues. There's just a whole slew of things that can happen, and we get into that. And it's really still just a vehicle for expressing kind of a higher point about what can happen if, you know, if mental illness is not paid attention to.
All right, I'll talk. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think there's still kind of this idea that we have that young people don't get mentally ill or whatever they're going through, they can just, you tough it out, you get through it, it's part of growing up. And it needs to be taken more seriously, you know, it's a serious thing, and if it's ignored, it becomes a bigger problem, you know?
Well, that ties in perfectly, I mean, sadly, to what's going on in the world with these random shootings.
Absolutely.
And actually, Charles Krauthammer, a columnist and commentator who's also a psychiatrist, did a whole thing about how, you know, of course, he's on the conservative side, so has his position on gun control. But he was saying how important it is that the mental health issue really be paid to, and that all these random shootings, not talking about gun-related, drug-related, or violence, crime, or other perverse but rational uses of weaponry. These were irrational, sporadic murders that he felt definitely had roots in mental illness. So did you know that your film would be this timely when you started shooting it?
You know, I really didn't, and it kind of unfolded that way. And I think there is kind of a responsibility to tell that in a responsible way. I made a conscious decision early in the writing process, because there is a bit of, it's not gratuitous, but there is some implied violence in the movie. And I kind of made a conscious decision not to have it involve guns or weapons because of the state of things right now. It's really a sensitive, serious issue that needs to be taken very seriously.
So Caleb, tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you to be involved in this project and what got you involved in acting to begin with. I see a little bit of myself in you because I was a child actor, so I'm interested in hearing your journey.
I started acting whenever I was around 6 in first grade. I took an acting workshop with a teacher at my school. Her name was Mrs. Bestkind, and we did mostly...
Bestkind?
Bestkind.
Was she kind?
Yeah.
Okay.
She was really nice. Yes, but she, I did like, that's really where I started acting. It's really, I found out that like, it's so cool that you can like act and like try to be all these different characters, and that's where I really started like acting. We did like some plays at the end of the school year, and then I did a lot of stuff at Harvard Children's Theater. I did many plays, and I got to know Jason here because I took some acting for film classes with him, which I really liked, and I thought it was like a different version of acting, which I didn't know about. I thought it was just theater back then, but so with this film, Jason asked me if I wanted to do it, and I was really pumped about it, and it's been a great experience. I've got to explore this really deep, dark character that was really fun for me because I haven't really experienced character. Like usually our Harvard Children's Theater, it's like this, jolly, happy character, but
yeah, that's not the
Yeah.
Children's Theater Jolly Green Giant. Yeah, this is a little bit different.
So this was a really cool experience because it's violence.
And I remember when I first contacted you and your mother, and I said, this is a little more grown up than Harvard Children's Theater. Is this okay? And you were like, no, it's cool. He's been auditioning for stuff that's more mature. So
Mom is here, the stage mom.
Yeah.
She's going, don't talk about that. Talk about that. No, she isn't. She's not doing it. Why don't you set up the first clip, which is a scene between, not to brag, but Caleb and myself, me playing a psychiatrist, which is the reverse because I'm usually the patient. No, just kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah. So this is a scene basically where the Dr. Carter, which Mark plays, and Evan Smith, which Caleb plays, are having therapy sessions that we kind of visit throughout the film, and we kind of don't know where they're going, but we keep visiting them every few scenes. And this is a scene where it's a few in, and they've kind of come to a head. They're kind of confronting each other now, so it's a very intense scene. Take a look.
All right, take a look. Evan?
That's not my name.
Really? Then who am I speaking with?
Shut up! You have no idea what it's like!
Evan, this has to stop. You cannot keep...
Don't tell me what I have to do! Don't you know I can break you?
So, Caleb, when you have to do that kind of work, I watched you basically be yourself and then turn right into that character and be able to find that emotional depth in that moment. Now, for a lot of actors, I don't know if you've studied or read books, it takes a long time to get to that place, but you kind of turn it on and you're able to turn it off. So is there that dark side of you that, as a 10-year-old, how old are you, 12?
I'm 13.
13, sorry.
So,
Had your bar mitzvah? Just kidding.
Yeah. I kind of had to put my mindset into like this kind of dark version of a character, and kind of like the last film I did, Extremely Loud, Incredibly Close. The character Oscar Schell, he was kind of he had a lot of built-up anger and problems too, so it was kind of a transition. But I felt that it was sort of a challenge, but I was able to do it, and I had a lot of fun doing it.
Did you both feel that you were showing, like, a lot of times in movies, as I said before, there's sort of gratuitous, meaning it just happens for the sake of happening. There's violence, there's evil, there's stuff that, I don't know, people find entertaining, but it has no purpose. In your film, it's used a little bit, but to show a problem, and that the problem needs fixing, and that the woman, the mother, is trying to get help for her child. So it has a purpose. Were you aware of that purpose, so that it wasn't just, and would you do a movie, say you got, I don't want to put you on the spot, $1 million to do, but you knew the film was kind of going to be a crazy role and it wasn't going to show you well. Would you do it, or would you be struggling?
That's a tough decision. I mean,
take the money.
$1 million is a lot of money.
I mean, if it was gonna like show me off in a bad way, I don't think I'd want to do that because, I mean, it's a tough decision, but I probably wouldn't. Because I didn't want to.
Do kids treat you different because you're doing this? Do they either are they either jealous of you, or do they treat you specially, or they don't really know?
I think that sometimes it's hard for me in school because people at school don't really see me for like me as myself, but they see me as more of like, that kid who's in a movie, and it can be tough sometimes because I would rather people just see me for who I am, not just movie star or whatever.
Yeah, movie star.
Not really. But
Well, I was a student at Harvard Children's Theater myself, and I was very fortunate to learn very young. The saying that they used to have was there's no stars, only actors. Right. And it's really, it's a job like anything else. You do what you do it well, you do it because you love it. It's not about all the media and the quote-unquote glamour, which if you've been on set, it's not as glamorous as you think. You're really just a lot of long days and hard work. People see the 5% of it that seems glamorous, but it's just love of a craft at the end of the day.
I went to the High School of Performing Arts, which you probably never heard of, but it was the movie Fame came out of there. And our teachers always said, if you want to be famous and go to Hollywood, go do that. We're training you here to be an artist, in the higher sense. And you have a purpose, you have a mission, you're trying to, as Hamlet says, hold up a mirror to the world, in Shakespeare.
I think there is an educational aspect, like you really teach and almost make the world better by telling these stories through art. I think, I could sit there and lecture you about something, but when you have a captive audience and you tell something in an entertaining way, I think that's really how we learn as a society. You know?
Why did you, in your film, you tell the story of Caleb and his alter ego without giving too much away? Can I say it's multiple?
Yeah,
I'm going to say, okay, so there's an example of what's called multiple personality or dissociative disorder, which is a real disorder. Usually it's brought on, as I understand it, from post-traumatic stress, and people have gone through a lot. So what made you give the character that, and how did you come up with that angle?
And it's interesting because that was an evolution, because in the original script there was none of that, and I just kind of did more research into what can happen with sleep deprivation, and like you said, is post-traumatic stress. There's a traumatic event that happens to our main character early in the film, and I don't know, I was writing it and that storyline kind of opened up, and the more I explored it, I said, hey, we're really onto something here. And
did you research it? Did you talk to?
I did research. I basically just, there's, these days, there's so much available online. I just kind of researched and looked at videos of doctors talking about it and kind of painted a picture of it and did my best to represent it.
Jason, Caleb, in the old days, you had to go to a library and open up an encyclopedia and sit there and look at books. And now we didn't have that luxury that you have today.
Yeah,
that's all you know.
First, you just have to find the encyclopedia for the letter of what you were looking at. And then you would have to.
Then you had to call some people on a rotary phone and leave a message. That's really
crazy.
Really
how much technology.
Why don't we see the trailer?
Okay, yeah. So this is the theatrical trailer for Lucid.
No! He can't! No!
What are your dreams like? Are they fuzzy, illogical, forgettable? We all dream every night, but often our dreams are so bland and blurry that we don't remember dreaming at all. Welcome to the world of lucid dreaming.
Have you ever felt a sense of evil in your dreams? His anger felt real, like he wanted to kill me.
Why did you bring me here? I want to go home!
Okay, where exactly is home?
I can't remember.
So you have this opportunity. You're in the trailer in like, I don't know, was it a minute and a half? Minute 36?
About a minute, yeah.
Why tell it that way? Why use those effects? Obviously you want it to be entertaining, you want it to grab people's attention, but how did you know what to choose when?
What my first assistant director, Conrad, had said this to me, which I agree with. A lot of times I feel like these days you watch a trailer and it gives the whole movie away. And you really feel like, wow, I just watched the movie. I know what's going to happen. I like a trailer that's, a lot of times they're called teasers, and for a reason. I like a trailer that kind of just gives you a little hint of what's to come and then leaves you like, oh man, I've got to see this. What's going to go on? So,
after the Newtown shooting, they held the premiere in a couple of films, including the one directed by Quentin Tarantino. And he responded in an interview that he thought it was silly. He said, this is just a movie. why are they, impacting my movie with something like that? Do you understand his point of view as a filmmaker, or do you think that was inappropriate on his part, not understanding the larger? And how do you feel about his films, which are very violent, or Dave Mamet's films, or
It's
like that?
I kind of understand that artistically things are written and they're sometimes not meant to be taken too seriously, but I think you still have to take into consideration the timing of it and still how it would affect people.
Yeah.
I think there still is a social responsibility there, I think we really do learn through media. And you have to take it seriously, how that impacts.
The thing that probably resonates for you as a filmmaker might be just previous, then we'll get off the subject of these random things, but the Aurora, Colorado shooter realized that he was losing it, tried to notify his psychiatrist, didn't get to him on time. He identified, from what I read, that he was somehow a character in the film in Batman when it was released, and that what he was doing was sort of acting out his role. He was crazy, psychotic, or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
So then do you ever worry about anybody looking at what's in your film and going, ooh, cool, look what this guy's doing, he's cool. Copycat, suddenly somebody tries to emulate his character.
No, I feel like the way it's told, it's portrayed in a very negative light. There's a scene with you and the character's mother. Really kind of a raw scene going, when everything's realized, going, man, those poor kids, like, how could this happen? And really showing a consequence and a real effect to it. Not just gratuitous and this happened and it's exciting, like, no, this really had a consequence.
That's good.
Yeah.
So Caleb, you've done film, you've done TV, you did that reading with me. What do you enjoy most of all? Do you enjoy theater or film? And how do you manage to have like a normal life as a kid too? Do you like sports? Do you do the usual stuff, or you're mostly an artsy kid?
Yeah, I have to say that arts are probably my most favorite hobby, but I do some other stuff too. Like I like juggling, yo-yo, ping pong. I mean, nothing really big sports-wise, but I just like to do some other stuff like that. And I have to say my most favorite thing, I have to say film, probably, because I like film a lot, because you really can show like really deep emotions like on film that you can't show in theater, because you get like the audience and like the actors are all the way down there, and
there are men who are 40 years old who can't show deep emotion, and you're 13 and you're showing deep emotion.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So, do you think you have just an art? Do you feel that somehow when you play these characters, I feel this way sometimes, that I've somehow lived these lives before and they're coming to reincarnation? Really?
I get that sometimes, like deja vu or something.
Well, that's a whole nother subject for.
That might be the sequel.
Yeah.
When people watch this film, what do you hope they'll get out of it?
I hope they feel like, whoa, that was awesome. Like it's a really cool subject that hasn't really been put out there before, and I think people are gonna like it a lot.
Do you want to do this professionally?
I think I do. Yeah, I definitely like it a lot, and it seems like it could be a really good career for me.
Do you ever think about, like Jason or either two of you, the power of the arts? I don't know if you know the story of, his name is on the tip of my tongue, but he was an African-American actor who was, he was in Charles Dutton, and he was in prison, and he was a criminal, and somebody gave him a copy of Raisin in the Sun. He started reading it, and he said that changed his life. He took the baddest, meanest guys in jail, and they played the characters, and he had them put on dresses, whatever, and they did the roles. And once he got out of there, he never looked back, and he went on to Yale Drama School and became a successful film theater actor. So do you ever think of how you could use this gift to help people and to go into those types of environments and maybe inspire with film or with the arts or with either of you, helping others, teach like drama therapy? You know what that is?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some plays or books or movies out there that really change people's lives, and that's the glory of movies. Like, you can definitely touch people, and you can definitely go somewhere with this.
And so do you have that vision for your own filmmaking? I mean, what do you see your next step? What is your overarching, as we said in the acting world, super objective?
Right.
What is your goal?
I think we're off to a start with Lucid. It's just really kind of educating people. You see things in the world that I don't want to say are broken, but you just see things that there's lessons that can be taught, and it's the way I think to do it. We really, I think, just subconsciously as a society learn through the arts, you know? Art imitating life, life imitating art. It sounds cliched, but...
What I notice as a clergy person, and just curiosity, is that a lot of films, the way they portray religion sometimes, it's either sort of a joke or it's kind of very negative, you know. There are certain things in society that I wish, when Woody Allen talks about religion, or even that, so I got it, good. Keeping the Faith, as funny as that film was, it still kind of played a parody, which is fine. It's fine, you can poke fun at any profession. But do you ever look at something that filmmakers are not covering, whether it's, I don't know, good things happening in the world, you know, not only the dark side, but good stuff? Or is that just going to bore people if you do a movie about, you have to have conflict, right? You know, you have to have the darkness.
I
but
guess,
you also have the light.
I think, there's always some element of, even in a comedy or something, there's some kind of conflict going on. But no, I think the sky's the limit. You know, you were saying that this hasn't really been tackled before in a film. Me personally, as a film goer, that's what I really enjoy. When I see something that's just never been done, it's completely fresh. So I think if you can continue to tell good stories and teach lessons in a fresh way, you know, that's what I'd love to do.
So I'm sorry, you said you are going to look to do this professionally? You said?
Hopefully.
Yeah.
But
You go out to Hollywood and drag your mom out there and the whole business?
I don't know, maybe.
How do you, I mean, Jason, you know, you guys, what I noticed in your crew is that the egos were not up, you know, excessive. Everybody was having a good time. Nobody was too impressed with themselves. But, you know, as you get higher and higher up the ranks, you do find some of that. So let's say you do get very successful. How do you stay grounded? And that's a question for you, too. How do you stay grounded if suddenly everybody's like, wow, you know, you're great, you're great. And, you know, how do you stay yourself if that happens?
I mean, for me personally, I've grown up kind of around media, actors, acting in general. So I've always kind of seen it more as an art than as something that's glamorous. So just kind of remembering that. I think it's kind of similar for you as well.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to like remember to, you know, just stay humble and like remember who you are, not who the media thinks you are,
Right.
and just stay as yourself.
Yeah, I think the work comes first is the bottom line.
Yeah, it's definitely an art to be respected.
And it's all temporary. I mean, you can be the biggest thing in the world for a couple of years and then you're
Yeah.
not. So you got to remember that too. You know, as big as
Yeah.
it may be at one point, it's all temporary.
I was
So.
watching an interview last night with Rita Moreno on Have a Smile. Rita Moreno was at West Side Story, and you know, she's like 80 years old now. And I was thinking, wow, this was one of the biggest stars, but the only TV show she's on. Not that it's not a great show, To Have a Smile, but it's like it's only for us late owls watching at 12:31 in the morning because we're like late owls, you know. So there is that sense of here today, kind of gone tomorrow. Do you ever think about, as an artist, your legacy? You're both very young, so you don't have to worry, but you know, the sense of leaving something behind that you've created for future generations, you know?
Yeah,
It's powerful.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think in any career, you look at someone like Steven Spielberg or you know, Woody Allen, or it's like long after they're gone, people are going to remember their films, and it'll mean something different to everyone, but it'll keep meaning something, and that's all you can hope for as an artist, you know.
How about you? What you want your? Well, you don't have to think about that yet.
Pretty young to be thinking about a legacy, but
Yeah.
So the other thing too is the collaborative effort, the idea of working together, you know, and if this kind of message of working together could be brought into other realms, say the political realm of collaboration, you know, how do you guys see that ensemble, collaborative role of working together and making sure you're a team? You know, is that something you set a tone for? when you're-
absolutely. That was the kind of the atmosphere that we wanted to create on set, and I think as soon as everyone got on set, it was like that. Conrad and I really talked about it. We said this needs to be a good atmosphere. You know, no one's going to want to be around if there's egos and people are like not getting along. And 12, I think we had one day. You were there. You guys are both there. I don't know if you were there the whole day, but it was a 16-hour day.
Oh yeah.
That's a long time to be with people if things are not going well.
Tell us a bit about your work in TV news, because you are, when you work for TV news, you're sort of bound by your employers to cover things a certain way, and then when you create your own film, you're independent and you're on your own.
Right.
So how do you switch gears between having to cover what other people are doing versus what you're able to create?
Yeah, it's kind of a different mode. I mean, I've done that much longer than I've done TV, but Yeah, in TV, I'm more of the behind the scenes, kind of just bring it to the air, bring it to the forefront, but I don't have to be involved in the creative side of it as much. As an artist, I really get to kind of conceptualize and see it through. So, yeah, it's simply just a different gear.
Just sum up for us the name of the film and where they can find it. Ultimately, this is going to be seen in May. So
Yep.
just tell everybody quickly a quick summary.
So yeah, the
film.
name of the film is Lucid. It's a cerebral thriller. It's going to be coming out in May. It'll be available May 24th at Bowtie Cinemas in West Hartford, and we're going to be probably doing, I believe, Netflix and Amazon shortly after that. And
Thank you, Caleb.
Check it out.
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks.
And thanks
Yeah,
to
thanks for having
Althea
us.
and the other Jason behind the cameras. Phyllis, want to thank your mom, Mandy.
Yeah.
We had to talk about stage moms. That'll be a separate show. Thank you so much for joining us on the Interfaith Roundtable. I'm Cantor Mark Perman, and we're seen here every month at different times. You can also check out the program. If you have questions about the show, you can contact me at mjperman9@gmail.com. mjperman9@gmail.com.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.